Welcome. I come to you from Newport today, so we're going to do a bit of geographical jumping around the country over the next few weeks. I'll come to that later, but Weekly Advisor Movement's 30th of July. This one's brought to you by our partners at Practice Exchange, a platform where practices can buy and sell each other's businesses. They've currently got 7,500 buyers at the moment. For any advice practices that are looking to sell, go to pro.advisorratings.com.au. Go to the top right hand corner and there's a section called business broking. So I'd encourage you to have a look at that. Multiples are actually holding up quite well in this market at the moment. So if you have got a well-run business, you are thinking of potentially exiting, we welcome Practice Exchange on board. Getting straight into it, left the industry, 23 advisors this week. In terms of switch licensees, that's 23 again. So no error there. That numbers just happen to be the same. And joined advisors were 1. A new slide that we've introduced for the week is where have the exits come from. So these are gross exits as opposed to net exits from the previous slide. In Melbourne, 12 advisors left. Brisbane inner city, you can see there the Brisbane River running through Brisbane out to Moreton Bay, so 10 advisors left there. And Sydney, between Hornsby and North Sydney, we had 4 advisors leave. Shout out to the switchers. So where does Newport come from? Well, that's where Noni Crawford's Hello Wealth's business operates out of. Since she's moved from AMP Financial Planning to the Graham Evans owned GPS Wealth. Drop in, say good day to Noni there. Newport, home of Tom Carroll, where he plied his trade for his 3 world championships. A bit of a surfing buff, actually, myself. Susie Shepherd, Yellow Brick Road, down there, I think, actually up there, West End, from where I am, West End in Brisbane, to Matt Lawler's Wealth Market. And Nicola Hamilton Morris, moving from Apogee to Bombora. Nicola is actually, a side note, an ultra marathon runner, probably not doing a lot of that ultra marathon running at the moment if you are still down there in Victoria, Nicola. So moving to Wayne Hanley's Bombora. Top gains for the week, Bombora, so 4 advisors, relatively flat. Wealth Today, again flat, that's Keith Cullen's group. Peter Morrison Dowd's owned and run Boston Reed, net 2 advisors. Earl Evans there, Shaw and Partners, 2 new stockbrokers joined the firm. And Crown Wealth Group marching up the charts with 47 advisors. Top losses, again, without labouring the point from previous weeks. AMP, almost under the 1,000 mark there, so 7 advisors left. A net 4 advisors in Mike Norfolk's group at ANZ, as they move much more into the private banking space, so 4 advisors. Apogee and Godfrey Pembroke, obviously moving those licensees on MLC and putting them under the 1050 brand. So we'll continue to see advisors exit that at some stage when they do wind those licensees up. So a net 8 advisors across those group. And Ian Chambers there at Morgan Stanley lost 3 investment advisors, so down to 97. Quote for the week goes to Jeremy Cooper, Challenger, the chair at Challenger. Half of the things that Hayne recommended haven't even arrived yet. You've got things like individual licensing, a new disciplinary body, a full-blown opt-in regime, fiddling around with fees on a system where you might ask, well, hang on, are the foundations actually sound? And I think that's a real good case in point. Was raised at the Retirement Income Forum by a professional planner this week. And I think there are going to be changes. Obviously, the economic fundamentals at the moment in Australia aren't too sound. There's been a massive increase in the need for advice and a massive increase in the need for scaled advice. I think we've seen that especially around with the early access to super regime. I think the government is looking at that closely and how can that fit into the current legislation or compliance arrangements. So if you are thinking of exiting the industry, maybe now is the time to have a second thought around that. But before I do say that, if you are thinking of exiting the industry, fundamentals and revenue multiples actually are quite good. So I would point you to the Practice Exchange guys. But yeah, stick around. I think I'm a little bit more upbeat given the economic conditions at the moment and the amount of volume that we're seeing, not only through our third-party relationships, through our white label platforms, but through our existing platforms such as togetheraustralia.com and Advisor Ratings. So again, we'll revisit this in 7 days, but some interesting times in the market. Till next week.